In my 3 years at Mount Holyoke College, I've met South Asians from all over the place in the Five College area.
Chicago, Illinois.
Bangladesh, Karachi, Pakistan.
Bombay.
Washingtonian American with Pakistani descent.
New Delhi, India.
But despite that, I feel that South Asian culture in the United States is time and again presented in a very homogeneous and exoticized manner. Even though I participated in cultural shows at college myself, and was guilty of both self-exoticism and self-objectification in retrospect, cultural shows and the representation of culture started to bother me. My sophomore year, an organization which performed skits about social and political awareness in Asia was told flat out by the organizers that politics and culture were mutually exclusive, and culture was limited to food, song, and dance. This spurred me to find out what my own community of South Asians, who were involved in organizations dealing with South Asia, perceived South Asian culture to be, and how it should be represented to an American audience. Do you think there's such a thing as South Asian culture?
Yes, I do.
What is it?
Firstly, it's not Bollywood. It's not just like singing and dancing like they try to show here all the time.
We had a spa night with mehndi in it and samosas, no samosas, and threading and just stuff like that. We just, the way we live at home, that's our culture.
I think it's important to also have a space for cultural shows which only focus on culture, not just political culture, because that's also an important part of where we come from, and we shouldn't only always have to focus on the negative.
I soon came to realize that a lot of what I perceived to be South Asia, as someone who had grown up in a South Asian country all my life, was very different from the culture abroad. What I saw in the United States was more of a fusion culture of sorts, a term I was personally very wary of, but was celebrated by many around the world. I wasn't big on the idea of fusion culture, but clearly many disagreed with me.
Because it's bringing the two cultures that I've identified with into contact with each other and creating a new mix and a new blend that's even better, or maybe not better, but certainly comparable to both. And it really expresses who I am.
Fusion and different cultures is something that goes way back in South Asian history and I think history of the entire world. It's just the whole stupid idea of Huntington and like clash of civilizations, and I mean I believe to some extent cites Orientalism, but I think he goes too far. So like all these ideas of like these distinct like Occident and Orient, like Islamic civilization, non-Islamic, I just think it's hogwash. Like there's really no such thing.
I think it's a way for South Asian Americans or like people who are part of the second generation or friends with the second generation or further to kind of form a community and create their own culture.
It can be dangerous when you specifically try to aim for fusion just by adopting the prettier values from home, and by prettier I mean strictly dress, dance, food, stuff everybody is comfortable sharing, and then adopting your actual values come from a place that's not home. I think that's when it's dangerous to call something fusion, because it isn't really.
And I think folk forms tend to sort of be modernized and given sort of new energy in Bollywood. Bhangra is the best example.
As someone whose grandparents had migrated to Pakistan from northeast India in what was the biggest displacement of communities in modern history, I knew a thing or two about migration, cultural fusion, and adaptation. To me, fusion culture was exclusionary, a culture which left behind issues of socio-political awareness and marginalized minority communities. I was convinced that in the diaspora, it would be no different.
We're doing actually a mix of Dandiya, which is a Gujarati dance, and Bhangra, which is a Punjabi dance. So it's a mix of two regions in India, both of which actually I'm not from, but it's still cool to bring those two cultures into contact.
What ends up happening with the South Asian American community is that because in the diaspora there are certain ethnicities from India that are more represented than others, that they have a larger influence in determining what sort of culture we form. So it's heavily Punjabi and Gujarati influenced, in the UK and in the US and in Canada.
We come across a lot of students who are from South Asia who either ignore our cause completely, which I find really confusing because it's something that affects them directly, or just don't find it fun enough. Or this.
All this left me wondering if there was a way that socio-political awareness and performance could be fused together to do justice to both.
But it would be nice if people found a way to merge the fun parts of cultural shows with some kind of social awareness, because I think they can go hand in hand. Every politically aware performance doesn't need to be something depressing.
It's a remix of Vande Mataram, India's national song, and Vande Mataram means Hail to the Motherland, which was the national cry for freedom from British control during the freedom movement.
I didn't get all the answers I needed, but at least I knew it wasn't impossible to blend in good fun with some form of awareness.